Welcome back, everybody, to the Piercing the Cosmic Veil show. We're thankful that you guys are back for another episode. I guess these are adding up, so we're gonna have to start. I'm gonna have to number these so we know where we're at. Today we've got a special guest. We have Amanda from Northern California. She's an experiencer. She's a single mother. She has some experiences with some vivid dreaming, which led into some counseling, to some dream interpretation, as well as unknowingly practicing into New Age into New Age things, as we all have seen this before. This also opened the door to spiritual beings, abductions, and ultimately torment, which again we all have some familiarity with. So again, I also would like to ask that if these shows have been a blessing to you, or if they've helped you in any way, shape, or form, if you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button in the YouTube channel, and also subscribing and letting your friends, families, neighbors, or whoever you may feel that are interested, this may be a blessing to, or may help. We would love for you to do that so we can reach more people. So without any more hesitation, I'd like to introduce one more thing before we do that. I want to introduce the panel. We have obviously Amanda. We have Mick, who's back. Hey, Mick, out of Australia.
Hi,
we have Mick's. Hey, Mick. We have Mick's wife, Lee.
Hi, guys.
Who's back again with us. Everybody knows Joe Jordan. He's here, center stage. And I'm Jason December from Huntington Beach, California, co-author of Joe's book, Piercing the Cosmic Veil. So again, here we go. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure speaking with you a month or so ago. I know we had a chance to kind of get caught up and do some prayer together. And I am thankful that you're here. I appreciate you coming on the show and telling everybody a little bit about your story. So we'll let you take it away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I read the book and it was amazing. I definitely recommend it. A little bit about myself. Well, I've always been a believer. So how did I go from a spirit-filled believer Christian woman to an alien abductee? I opened many doors along the way without even realizing it, and responded to traumatic events in my life by avoiding God, going to quick fixes, and attempting anything to avoid pain. But in the end, I only ended up with more pain. I was the type of person growing up where I was very involved in church. I invited a lot of my friends to church and shared Jesus. I went to youth group, filled with the Holy Spirit at age 14. I didn't even curse or drink or do drugs or smoke, and I was saving myself for marriage. I went to a Christian college to be among other believers. So I left it, but I was sexually assaulted in college and then got in a series of 3 abusive relationships. So trauma kind of coming in here. My parents were, when I was young, divorced because my dad was abusive to my mom and emotionally abusive to me and my siblings. So I learned the cycle of violence early. I had my son, and then I had a couple of failed engagements, and I hit the party scene pretty hard. I drank a lot and, was dating a lot, just trying any quick fixes to solve like the traumatic pain I'd experienced. One time I went to a comedy club. This is my most traumatic event. I went to a comedy club, and the comedian came to buy me a drink at my table, and I only have pieces of memories after that. He had drugged and sexually assaulted me. The next day, I reported it and went to the hospital to get checked out. He didn't get charged, and he didn't get charged, and I didn't have money for a lawyer, so I knew he was probably out there preying on other women. And after that, I started having these horrible horrible, vivid nightmares.
Wow.
So realistic that I would wake up scared. Something bad was happening in my dreams and I was being hurt and I couldn't wake myself up. So obviously I wanted to try to find some help. So what started off as me trying to find answers and solace for these horrid dreams is where I unknowingly started dabbling in New Age. I went online and I was obsessed with dream interpretation. I would look up all these websites on dream interpretations, spend a lot of free time doing this. I sought counseling, and I would go into the counseling session and tell the counselor my dreams. She wasn't a Christian, but she was very interested in my dreams. That's why, just my little plug for Christian counseling, it's so important. She had a big dream interpretation book, and she would bring it to these sessions, and she would interpret my dreams. I thought, I'm at counseling, so this should help, right? Well, looking back on it, if you're not seeking God for your answers and you're seeking another source, if it's not a good source, it's an evil source, and there's no gray area with good and evil. I don't know, I got further into it. I looked up lucid dreaming and decided to take control of my dreams. And for those of you who don't know, lucid dreaming is a practice of being conscious in your dreams, and basically you can be in control of a whole, like, of your dream. You're awake while you're dreaming. I got really good at it, and I ordered this book so I could practice all the techniques in the book to better my, get better at solving these horrid nightmares. I remember some of the chapters, and this is me as a Christian, I'm reading this book, and I remember some of the chapters in the book were about contacting the dead, healing yourself, and contacting dream characters, which they disguised it as was supposed to be your inner voice. And as I was reading this, I saw these chapters, and I was like, these are kind of not what I'm aligned with thinking. I'm just going to skip over it. I thought they were kind of evil, but then I didn't think to myself that if part of it's evil, then all of it's evil. And so I was reading the other parts of the book, but ignoring the parts that I thought were too evil. This is where, the contact started happening. Meeting dream characters or entities while I was sleeping. At first, it was kind of positive. I got good messages. And then it turned into what you could call like alien abductions. I started believing that during my dreaming, I had contacted higher intelligence of life, like aliens or something. They were acting as spiritual guides. I remember looking up on the internet spiritual guides. I was so curious about it, but then it started to turn negative. And the experiences started to turn negative. I went through medical examinations. I felt like in my dreams, in these abductions, I thought a piece of my brain was taken out, and I really believed that they performed like sexual acts on me, and I had a needle stuck in my stomach to extract something. And I was looking up all these weird things on the internet, like what could this possibly be? When these abductions were happening, it started to get really negative and affect my mood. I became really agitated and started to get paranoid. And then like something else traumatic happened. So all this trauma, and I'm trying to like figure it out on my own. The middle of the night when I was sleeping, someone broke into my house, and my car was prowled and things were missing in my car. And I woke up, but the intruders in the house, and I heard them and I said, hey, but they ran away, leaving my door open. I called the police the next day and reported the break-in. Yeah, it was. I already had messed up sleep, and that was messing up my sleep even more after that. I was like really, my sleep was really bad after that. But yeah, they thought it might be like some people looking for something to steal really quickly. Yeah, luckily nothing worse happened. So after this, my paranoia started ramping up, and I was sure someone was following me. And I don't know if this was PTSD from all the traumatic events I had experienced. I was trying to solve my PTSD by counseling and lucid dreaming, alcohol, dating lots of men. And then one of these nights, it turned from a dream into an actual visitation in my sleep. So,
Amanda, real quick, up to this point, would you say that most of the experience, other than the awake situations, right, that we've heard, have most of the experiences been in your mind through dream state up to this point?
Yes.
So nothing has happened at this point when you felt you were physically awake and aware, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And is this where? I knew that my mood was shifting. Like I knew that there was something like not right, but I couldn't really tell what it was. Yeah, so far this had only been happening what I thought was my dreams, although it felt really realistic, and some would think it would be more than dreams. But yeah, then one night I woke up, and I woke up out of a deep sleep, and I was staring at my closet walls. It was right next to my bed, and they had eyes. At first, my feeling was afraid, and my second feeling was, oh, they're here, like these beings from my dream. They're in my room. And then I got kind of curious. I could only see the projections of the profile on my closet doors, and they had big black almond eyes. And it's so interesting because this is how I came upon this book that Joe wrote, that they looked exactly like the picture in Joe's background right now, with the profile of that alien and the girl. And it looked exactly, I mean, it was black and white, exactly like that. I told myself, I'm lucid dreaming. I was used to being awake during my sleep. So I was like, okay, I'm having another dream. I'm gonna wake myself up, close my eyes and reopen them. And these black eyes were still staring at me. And there was 3 sets. I asked, kind of unconsciously, but still awake, I was like, why are you here? And what I heard was like a series of beeping, and I swore that I was hearing like a alien language, and these beings were speaking to me kind of telepathically. They were kind of blinking every once in a while, and they said adaptive. And I said, adaptive to what? But I didn't get an answer. And I don't really remember specifically what happened next, because this is going on like, this happened like about 6 years ago. So, but it was a lot of hours I spent staring at my closet walls at these beings. They seemed to be guiding me, judging me, helping me move forward in trauma, like what I was seeking. They showed me projections of puzzles, wanted me to solve them. At one point, the three of them were together, and they asked if I believed they were God. And I said no. And this is when they started mocking me, telling me that I must be religious. They said I could ask one question. So I asked how they got there, which I meant like how they get in my room, because this was all very overwhelming. I'm like, what's happening? Images were flashing on my wall of evolution, and then I rejected it, and then another image flashed on my wall of the Big Bang, and I rejected that. The projections on my wall continued with puzzles, and one turned into a huge yin-yang symbol. And I rejected that. And I was wondering, what are they trying to get me to believe? Like, this is a spiritual experience that I'm experiencing, and like these different symbols. Yeah.
Wow.
My Bixby keeps turning on.
Interesting.
Sorry. Okay. Where was I? So after like a bunch of puzzles and testing and just being overwhelmed with the visual and auditory aspect of all this, of thinking how powerful these beings were, after hours and hours, these beings, they turned against me. I felt like I lost a lot of sleep, and had been staying up late due to paranoia from nights before. And I started feeling really horrific. The beings started accusing me of crimes I'd never committed. And they were communicating with me telepathically. And it was just utter, it was torment. I felt like a prisoner being tormented. So then they counted down to my death, and I felt like, you know, they were telling me, they were like, you need to say you did these accusations, or we'll kill you.
Wow.
And I felt as though like a bomb was being put in my stomach. My hands were feeling hot. At this point, I could start smelling smoke. They started counting down. This part's kind of hard for me to talk about, but because it's like, this was the worst part. They were counting down from 10, and I started panicking. Got to 9, and I thought I was going to explode in my room, and my mom and son were going to find me dead. Luckily, my mom had been visiting me at the time, and looking back on it, you know, God probably knew this was going to happen, and my mom was there so she could be in the darkest hour in the time of my most need. So the countdown continues, and I got to 8. You know, I want to be old, and I want to be an old and a grandmother and see my son's future. And then 7, 6, 5, I started screaming for my mom to call an ambulance. I was certain I was going to die at this point. 4, 3, 2, the only thing I had left to do, I knelt down by my bed and I prayed, Jesus, I need a miracle. You're the only one who knows me and my soul are right with you. You're the only one who can save me. Please, Jesus, please save me. And then it completely stopped. I heard the mocking voices saying, Jesus saved you. And I started crying and screaming. Driven into madness, my mind felt broken. My mom did call an ambulance and it arrived at my house. I spent the next week in a psych ward. I remember asking for a Bible in the hospital, and my pastor came to visit and pray for me. My own pastor, when he came to pray for me at the hospital, he revealed to me that he had an experience kind of similar to what I had experienced. He had lived in this home with a pre-built shed in the back, and he sensed something really evil back there. He went to the shed every day and he prayed for months and months. And then one day while he was praying, he just saw this green orb just fly out of the shed. And then the evil was gone. So I knew that there was something spiritual going on. I definitely knew God was going to help me. And after he prayed for me in the hospital, I was feeling better and I was ready to leave. So I don't think I was afraid of being killed anymore. It's pretty this was pretty traumatizing for me, this whole thing. Yeah. When I got back home, I couldn't live in my house anymore. I felt like there were evil spirits there. I never wanted to go back there. And looking back on it, not too far from my house was this medium's house. She was doing, I don't know some sorcery or something, but people would go there and pay her money. And I don't know, I think there was demonic activity around the place that I was living. So I had to move out of there, and I knew I had to throw away all of my dream interpretation books, throw away the lucid dreaming book, which I knew had opened the door. And I never visited interpretation sites again on the web. Anything relating to New Age techniques, which I, as a Christian, was unknowingly practiced. And I'll tell you the truth, after this, I didn't feel, even though Jesus had saved me from the experience, right afterwards, I didn't feel completely 100% healed. I knew it was going to be a process for me to be healed, because I still had a lot of sin that God needed to work out of my life, and trauma that God needed to heal me from. And he would take his time healing me, and so I would be completely restored. I struggled for a few years for a definitive answer on what had happened to me. I was pretty sure it was spiritual, but still I was thinking, well, was it maybe aliens, but Jesus saved me? And then I came upon Joe's book, Unholy Communion. And before this, I was getting more depressed and traumatized than ever before. I mean, it took me years to fall asleep with the light off, and I'd always have to have Christian music or sermons playing while I was sleeping. I listened a lot to Jenny Weaver worships. She sings the scriptures while playing the guitar, so it was really relaxing to listen to as I was falling asleep. And I was slowly letting go of sin that had they had a grip on my life, from things I was trying to avoid, from pain I was trying to avoid, from the things that I had experienced in life. So Jesus really helped me close those doors. I was searching about answers about Christians who had experienced alien abductions, and that's when I came upon Joe's book, Unholy Communion. After reading that book, I knew for sure that I wasn't the only one experiencing these things. The deception from the enemy, it's unreal. It can even fool Christians. If we're not daily renewing our mind and reading the word. The devil fooled Adam and Eve, and they physically walked with God in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
That is why, I don't know, Joe, your cover of your book really drew me in. The enemy has this huge alien deception. It's like on the cover of your book, it's like the enemy is holding out an apple of this secret knowledge, and we're too weak without Jesus to not fall into this deception. And Jesus is the only way out.
Yeah.
And it's so important for people to know that these abductions and this contact, these experiences, they can and they will stop with the name of Jesus. And sometimes it can take time to be fully restored after demonic oppression. And it's okay, because Jesus wants us to be fully restored. Life is meant to be done with Jesus. He loves us and wants good things for us. Yeah.
You made a comment that sometimes it can take a period of time for them to be able to have this experience completely terminated. I'd like you to share why you feel that is. I mean, I understand it. I've been able to explain it, but I'd like somebody that's actually been through it and understands that, to be able to share that with the listeners. Because in the books that we have out there, you'll see that there's two parts of this. There's an immediate termination of the experience while it's happening, which you experienced while they were there, and you called in at the utmost last second. You called on Jesus to help you. Okay, that was instantaneous. But then the main part of the focus of all of this is through that relationship, being able to terminate the pattern of this experience in your life, and that address that part of it, of why sometimes it can take time, in your words.
Yeah. Well, it took time for me to walk away from God and to open these doors of sin, whether it be, fornication, dating a lot of men, or alcohol, getting into dream interpretation, looking for answers away from God. This was not a process that just happened so quickly. This took probably like years of walking away from God to happen. And so I don't think that, it's not to say that God couldn't heal someone instantaneously, but it can take time, because it took time for sin to get in your life, and really it's going to take time to get out. God gives you the strength to slowly work out these things one at a time. And for me, that's what was happening. It wasn't all at once. It was one little thing at a time.
So it's about shutting the doors.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let me ask you this. So the beginning, we understand if it's about doors. So in the beginning, you open the doors.
Yes.
Do you felt that you knowingly asked to open the doors, or do you felt that you unknowingly opened them, not expecting to get these results?
I felt like it was so gradual in my understanding and my belief. A lot of it I don't know, I was a psychology major in college, so I was really interested in the way that the brain works. So I was always looking up like interesting like self-improvement books, and that's how I got onto dream interpretation and this lucid dreaming. And I really got fooled by you could be talking to your inner self, and you could possibly change the way that you're thinking through your mind in these dreams. And it really become deceptive. And the more and more I got into this, the more and more, the more deeper I got into this, the deeper of doors I was opening. And I just wasn't, I wasn't praying about it. I wasn't seeking God at the time. And when you're not seeking God, when you're not praying to God, you get answers. You won't get answers from God. You do get answers, though. It's
Sure
not going to be good.
Somebody's going to answer you, and you need to be, you need to make sure you're getting the right answer.
Yes.
So you have to be specific who to ask.
Yep.
Let me ask
Exactly.
you, I want to ask you a question about the experience itself. There's going back to where they were in the presence in the room, and they were asking you questions, and you feel you're in an awake state at that time.
Yes.
How does those experiences end? How do you remember how they end? Do you remember? I mean, you got to be disturbed while in the experience. I mean, how do you end up going back to sleep? How do they allow that to happen? Do you remember?
Oh, I didn't go back to sleep.
So can you remember how they actually end?
Let's see. I got caught up in the staring and just mesmerized in these projections that I was seeing on my wall. And it went from that to the accusations and the torment. And then I started really freaking out. And then that's when everything became torturous, and that's what I remember.
Okay, what I'm looking at here is try to picture in your mind one of the experiences, and you're actually in the experience. Can you just grab one? You have one that is memorable where you're sitting on the bed and you're watching these projections or whatever. And then what I'm trying to get to here is, you say you didn't go back to sleep, but I'm looking for that transition from the experience to knowing that it's over. What is that? Can you tell me that?
Oh, knowing that it's not like a positive thing anymore?
No. When did it in one instant, in one night, okay, they've come, they're doing whatever they do, they're showing you stuff or whatever, or talking to you telepathically or whatever.
Right.
You feel you're in an awake state while this is going on, but at some point you go back to your normal reality life. That moment that changes, can you tell me how that changes? Did they just disappear in an instant? Did they say, hey, goodbye, we'll see you later? How did that stop? How does the experience stop? I'm looking for that.
It only stopped when I asked Jesus to save me and to have it stop.
That's that one particular experience, but I'm looking at all the other ones
only
prior
one.
to that. All the ones prior to that.
Right. Okay. I get what you're saying. The ones prior to that, let me think. It more felt like it was a dream, and there would be times where it felt like I was being dropped back into my bed. Like I would be pulled out of my bed spiritually and then dropped back into my bed. So I would feel myself like drop and then wake up.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for that. That's very important for the research. But the last one, you were in the state and you stayed awake from that point on.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. That's important. Good. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Lee,
yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
You said something that you have you can relate to that.
Yeah. Mick and I both have experienced many times the sensation of being dropped into the bed and you wake up and you instinctively know that you are above the bed at some level, because when you drop, the mattress goes down and you wake up. It's not like you're imagining that drop. It's like a physical thing.
Right.
And you really feel the decompression of the mattress and you spring back up and you wake up and you think, whoa, what was that? But for me, I have no recollection of what just transpired, only what was that? You know, and Mick has had that too.
Yeah, I've had the same. It felt like I've dropped about 4 or 5 inches into my bed.
Yeah.
And again, no recollection of before it. Just all of a sudden, just boink, fallen into. And I remember with myself years ago waking up in the most fear you could ever imagine, like shaking, heart racing,
Yes.
fear off the scale, and yet having no conscious idea of what led to it. Like there was no dream, there was no physical, mental memory of anything. And all of a sudden waking up, and I remember years ago, I got out of bed and it took me 15 minutes to calm down. I walked around, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. It was off the scale, the fear, like it was unbelievable. And yet there was no lead up to it. It was bizarre. There wasn't a dream that was you're being chased by a wolf or something silly or whatever. It was just boom. But the part of dropping into your bed, I'd say probably 6 or 7 times I've had that, and no idea, like there's nothing leading up to it in a dream or anything like that. You just come down.
Yeah, I've had experiences where I had been dropped in my bed. I remember falling asleep and being lifted out of my bed. And this is another part of New Age where I think was coming into my life. They talk about astral projection. I felt like I was like flying through space. And I felt like I was out in space, and then I would come back and be dropped into bed, and it was curious, but it was really frightening at the same time.
You had trouble landing, huh?
It's quite interesting. I'll just let you in on a little story.
Makes a pilot, so you can relate to that.
Oh, okay.
Every landing you walk away from is a good one. One of my ex-workers remembers, this is a true story of him, again, not knowing or having any recollection beforehand, but all of a sudden finding himself levitating probably 3 or 4 feet above the bed, consciously awake, and remembers lying there horizontal above his bed and looking over at his brother in the next bed who was sound asleep. And this was daytime, like it was early morning. And then he said he just lowered down into the bed from around about 3 or 4 feet into the bed. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Amanda,
Definitely that stuff was happening.
Mm.
Yes.
I got another question.
Uh-huh.
Why do you feel that you had to speak to them when they could telepathically talk to you?
Good question.
I felt like it was a natural thing to do, to talk out loud like we're doing right now.
It
But-
didn't come across your mind that they should be able to read your thoughts if they can implant
Well, yeah,
thoughts?
I did start later on. This was happening for hours. So eventually I did get there. I did get there where I had stopped verbally talking. So, yes.
Interesting.
Mm.
Mm.
And I felt like they were just only telepathically communicating with me.
Okay. During this time, you said you have a son.
Yes.
At this time? During the experiences?
No, thankfully he hasn't. Thank God. So.
No. Okay. And you're a single mom?
Yes. Yep. Single mom. And so all these experiences are, I think they were even more frightening, just being a single person living on your own and going through traumatic experiences, and then just having this all on top of it. It was, it broke my mind. It really took a long time to get healing from this. I mean, it took years, and I really felt like I got a breakthrough when I was reading your book. Unfortunately, when I did read your book at first, I did get an attack during my sleep. But because I had started saturating myself with the Word of God, listening to Christian music, the Lord had been cutting sin out of my life. I was able to say in my sleep to this evil spirit, release me in Jesus' name. And then I immediately woke up, and I felt stronger in the Lord than I had before. And this was the last time that something had happened to me like that. So I think it was definitely needing to read your book and reading other people's experiences. And Satan did not want me to continue reading the book.
Mm.
Have you read the one that Jason and I have done together?
Yes, that's the book I'm referring to.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Want to take a break?
How about we take a short break? And
Okay.
Amanda's story is absolutely fascinating, and we're going to all pitch in with questions after this break. Stay tuned.
All right. All right, guys, welcome back. Again, we want to thank everybody for joining us today, especially Amanda. We've got some questions from the panel for her in regards to some of what's been discussed so far. So I'll start off. I do have a couple questions for you, Amanda. I know in a lot of your testimony, as most of the testimonies do, they overlap into mine, which is great because we can understand more and more how the enemy works, and that it's not so he's so tactful in what he does, yet I'm learning that he's very predictive. And if we can understand his predictiveness, and people out there we can really get ahead of stopping him. Obviously, we all know that there's more to it than that, but that's incredible. One of the things I wanted to ask was, how long did this, so I know that it started with the dreams, and then they were in the lucid dreaming. You said you got really good at it. Was this something to where when you went to bed at night, you knew that you would be able to go, you knew in your mind, in your heart, that you would go into a dream and you'd be able to be in that dream and you could actually control the dream? Is that how it got for you?
Yes, there's different techniques in lucid dreaming that you could practice before you go to sleep that would make a lucid dream more susceptible to happening, and which I would try, and which would happen. And interesting enough, when you were talking about falling and or when we brought up the falling and dropping into bed, that's one of the things that starts a lucid dream, is you need to imagine yourself dropping or falling.
Wow.
So
interesting. Hey, you guys, this reminds me a little bit about Ryan Getman's story. If you guys, I know Joe, Nick, Lee,
Yeah.
And I'm sure Amanda can go back, but if any listeners out there, Ryan Getman's testimony is on our channel, and he gets into some specifics about this dropping and these levels, which is very interesting. Where were you? Was your, another question? How long did this go on from the lucid dreaming? You obviously, you're in sin. You're trying to cover, like I was covering stuff up through alcohol and other things, but you're dabbling into sin, right? As I was. How long was this from conception to you really opening those doors, searching more and more into it? How many years went by until the end? What was that duration?
it was from the time I opened the door really to lucid dreaming to the time I had the experiences was about a year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And was your son born during this time, or after, before?
This was, yeah, while he was alive, he was going to school. Yeah, this was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're still you're a single mother now, correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay. That's just I just want to get some clarification on that. Lee, do you have any questions for Amanda?
Well, the thing I did want to mention is a lot of people feel the oppression of the enemy, and they may not even realize that's what it is. So going back to your story, Amanda, you said one of the first things you noticed was nightmares. You had nightmares, and that kind of escalated things. And I have on my own website some things that people experience when they are under attack from the enemy. And I'll just read them out and tell me if you can agree with these things. During these times, these people can experience negative self-talk and self-loathing, hatred of other people, intrusive thoughts like it's not your own thinking, feeling like people are against you or out to get you, saying unusual things, swearing, cussing, blaspheming, outbursts of extreme violence or anger, Sudden personality changes. I think you mentioned that. A sense of heaviness, often across the head, the shoulders, and the chest.
Wow.
The vision can change, dizziness, bad dreams and nightmares. You can see entities in the dreams or a demonic presence within the room. Seeing a mist or a shadow being, feeling under attack, hearing things, paranormal happenings, electrical equipment playing up or breaking down, for example, phones, computers. You can have marriage breakups, fighting, sickness, diseases, and accidents. Plagues around the house, mice, ants, flies, dead animals, cats and dogs. Tragedies within the family, death, accidents, isolation, and sometimes you can avoid people. Money stolen, lost, houses being broken into. You did mention that. Yeah. Loss of employment, huge expenses coming in, feeling hopeless, like you want out with suicidal thoughts, drinking more alcohol, drugs, doing sinful things, cutting or body mutilations, and doing strange things that a person would not normally do. And once you open up to sin, the enemy gets in and he creates more sin in your life, and it's just a downward spiral. So I just wanted to mention that so the viewers can keep that in mind. And perhaps if they've not come to Christ, they might be seeing some kind of a pattern there. And while we're at that, I do have a questionnaire that we can give people, and we can have a look at their life, and this helps to explore their experiences, and we can work with them from there. So contact me at in the message or newtochrist.com.au. So
that's interesting that you mentioned about the vision changes. I never had to wear glasses until this all started happening. So my eyes started getting blurry. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, Lee, you described all of these fruits of a demonic spirit. We should show it in relation to the fruits of the Spirit of God.
Absolutely.
Which are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, and faith. And those are all out of Galatians 5:22. You know, what a comparison, where the enemy leads us to all the things that Lee was talking about in comparison to what God offers a relationship with him.
Yeah.
That's good. That's one of my favorite scriptures too. It's one I use when I'm dating. The fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Mick.
Yeah, I've just got a little bit of a curiosity. Amanda, when you were having these visitations, it was a daytime or nighttime where you could see the eyes in your wardrobe or cupboard?
It was nighttime. So this happened at nighttime. I was woken up out of my sleep. Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention too is that when they were speaking telepathically to me, they at some points were deceiving me with familiar voices. So they would talk to me like using one of my friend's voice or a family member's voice, and it would be really confusing. And reading about that scripture in the Bible where it says, beware of familiar spirits, it's really true. One of the things that was mentioned was that I was like, this isn't my, whoever person in my family, this is not a person in my family. and then they would retort back, "We can be any voice." So it was really scary.
Can I just mention too, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people who are not Christian, there'll be a death in the family of a loved one, and suddenly after the death of that person, they will start seeing or hearing that person. They will hear their voice, they'll hear their name called. And what the enemy is doing is trying to work on their emotions to accept that as being real, and it's not real. It's a deception of the enemy, because the Bible tells us that we have one death and then we have judgment. So I'll put that scripture up. So a lot of people who are not Christian do believe that that is their dead loved one, and that is the enemy trying to get in. Yeah.
It's really, yeah, go ahead.
Just to drive this one home for the people that are going to be watching this, to show the connection here, that this is all part of the same demonic lie, is there are researchers who have worked with people who have had the abduction experience and have had recall memories of being on board the craft and going through the medical exams, but also recall seeing dead relatives on the craft. Excuse me, how does that work? Because it's all a lie.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and also thinking about it, this all started happening around the time of my traumatic experiences, and also right after my grandmother had died. And I don't know, one thing I was thinking about with traumatic experiences and a lot of dating is those soul ties that can connect, and only God can break those soul ties with people that you are sinning with. So my Bixby keeps turning on. It's so weird. Okay.
What are you talking about that turns on?
It's like, instead of like Alexa, it's Bixby.
Oh, let
Bixby.
it turn on. We want the world to hear this.
I know. It's been turning on this whole time. Thinks I'm talking to it.
That's a whole group of listeners. We'd love to hear this story.
Yeah.
His name is Jason December. Dezember.
Mick, what do you got? You've been sitting over there quiet. I know you got something for us, my brother.
Like the other thing I was interested in, Amanda, was you were saying that you were having medical experiments. Can you just tell us what you had? And if it's too personal, don't say. But
no, that's okay.
Happy to share it.
I do remember those. I mean, it was everything. It was it was like my body was being operated on, like a surgery. Like every part of my body I could feel being operated on and examined, just like you would read about in alien abductions. Like they would, they would be examining you for some sort of purpose. And the really invasive part was I felt like I was getting like a CAT scan of my brain, and I felt like they had cut or sliced a piece of my brain out. So when I had totally broken down, I swore I believed that a part of my brain was gone. I actually believed that, and I had to ask the doctor. I'm like, is my brain there? And yeah, it is, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I can understand. Yeah.
Amanda, when the experiments were happening to you, did you notice any new illnesses that took place after that in your life?
Mostly, I would say it was mostly like depression, I would say.
Okay.
So it mostly came on like that. I'm not thinking of anything physically Right.
Okay, thank you.
That's about it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take you as we'll let the listeners know and the watchers know out there that Amanda here is actually read the entire book that Jason and I put together, and we'd like to give an opportunity to let her give an account of what she feels about the book and what she took away from it, and if she has any questions, because this is a great time to ask them because she got both of us right here.
Awesome. Yeah, when I read the book, like I said before, it was very relieving to read the book and know that so many people, I mean, just not like a couple people, like tons and tons of people have been going through experiences like I had. It was, you know, it was confirmation of something I knew, and it was really good to read about. Although when I was reading, I did get that spiritual attack. I don't think the enemy wanted me to read the entire book, but with everything that I had learned in the book and just saturating myself in the Word of God, I was able to overcome that attack. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this book, and I feel stronger after reading this book. I never shared my testimony before with anyone. I think I mentioned kind of something happening to like one of my friends, but never fully talked about it. And hopefully this can help people know that these experiences, these tormenting experiences can stop. The torment, the abductions, it can and will stop with the name of Jesus. And that's why the book meant so much to me.
That's fantastic. That's good.
Any testimony in there that stood out more than others to you personally?
Oh gosh, yeah, there was one, and I don't have it like right in front of me right now. There was one in there that was, oh gosh, I should have had it open to that page, but it was talking about just the deception of the enemy, and how deceptive, how much of a pull it can be. And I can't remember exactly which one it was.
On the question and answer section in the middle, did we cover enough? Do you think the answers were enough of the questions were answered to be able to address somebody that's never experienced this, or even somebody that's actually is an experiencer, to be able to bring them out of this? Because that's something that I was looking for there. When we put the question and answer section together, what I did is I didn't rely on me coming up with the questions. I posted it on my Facebook page for the followers on Facebook. I said, look, guys, I'm going to give you an opportunity to be part of the book. I'm going to put this out there. You guys ask the questions that you've been wanting answers to, because I don't know what you're asked, what you need to know. You let me know what you need to know. And I took all the questions that were asked, there were 38 of them or something like that. And I said, give me the questions and they'll all go in the book, and they'll either be answered by me or from a peer, that wrote more eloquent than me, the answer, than I would have. So you saw a lot of the answers, a lot of the questions were answered by peers of mine, not just by me. But I hope I had enough questions in there and answers to them that were able to, put anything you had to ease.
Yeah, definitely. Reading the questions and answers. I think it's a lot of questions that a lot of people have in common among people that experience these type of situations. And yeah, it definitely is something that would be something that someone is looking for the answers to.
Okay. Very good.
And Amanda, I'm presuming a lot of people are going to listen to your story and have questions for you. So I'm just telling the viewers, put your questions under the YouTube clip for Amanda, and I'm sure Amanda will be delighted to answer those questions.
Yes, I can.
Great.
Yeah, to the people that are watching the shows out there, as you watch one, feel free to ask questions or respond to these shows. If you have something in particular you want to ask me or ask Lee or ask Jason or Mick or any of the people that we're interviewing, ask them on there, put it up there. We're watching these, responses that come in, and we'll make sure we get you an answer. We're not going to leave them unanswered, because that's our whole intent, is to try and answer all the questions you may have, to be able to give you a full understanding of what we found and what we can do to be able to help you, come out of this experience, and be able to help you share this information to people that need to come out of this experience. So, don't be afraid to write something. You may think it's a dumb question, but it's not for somebody that doesn't even know to ask it. That might be something that just hasn't come to them yet. So don't be afraid. Put it up there. We'll get you an answer, no matter how simple you think it is.
Hey, Amanda,
Yes.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
What would you think about myself, Joe Jordan, Lee, and Mick Arnon doing a live stream once a month to allow callers to call in, type in questions, and answer those live? What would you think that would be a good thing for the show?
That'd be really cool.
I thought
think,
so too.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to do that. I don't think they knew we're going to do that, but we're going to do that. We're going to press in this year.
I'll have to learn.
Many questions.
But we're going to do a live show once a month. I don't know when the date's going to be. We'll announce it in the next week or so. But we're going to have people be able to call in, to be able to type their questions in live, so we can answer these things. We've got enough testimonies, real life testimonies, where I think we built enough of a base where I think that's going to be important.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know I watch every testimony on the show, so yeah, I subscribe to the channel.
Awesome.
Watch all the testimonies.
Amanda, just so you know, there were over 60 testimonies in that book, and I'm still sitting on close to 100 that have yet to be shared. So
wow.
Yeah, we're still looking at a couple more books that were in the works right now, and we'll be spreading those out over the next couple books so that they can be shared. So yeah, you think you had your full? There's plenty more coming. And that's what I always say, when I do my talks, the people that just don't understand this or don't agree with it. How many testimonies do you need to see to show that this is real? To show that the name and authority of Jesus Christ can stop this experience, because they're still coming in. As I was telling Lee here, and Jason just a couple of days ago, I had 2 more come in this week. I'll be talking to this weekend, one-on-one for the first time. So every week, new testimonies come in. It doesn't matter how far away from them I end up in the world. The Lord still leads them here. So they can share their story.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
I guess I did have one question for you guys about the artwork. Who did the artwork, and how did you guys come up with the ideas for the artwork? Or
I'll tell you about the artwork. You're talking about this one over here.
Yes, both of them.
Yeah, well, hang on one second.
Should we get a drum roll, Mick?
Very good.
You're a handsome guy.
It's that shine. We got to find out what wax he's using.
What's going on with the wax, man?
All right, this first one over here. This one comes from a gal named Penny Scott. She was an artist. Way back before I became a believer, I was already into the UFO phenomenon, already a researcher. I was established as a MUFON state section director of Brevard County. You read that part in the book, in my story in the beginning. This is right before I was led to Christ, okay? I was still in the New Age. The girl that led me to Christ, my girlfriend, I was working with us in the New Age, this was her best friend and her roommate. And these two were both artists. This one, Penny, did paintings and artwork like that. My girlfriend did stained glass windows for churches and stuff. Awesome stuff she did, stained glass windows. They were beautiful. Big ones too. Penny had this concept. She says, I'm going to do you a piece of work for, your research. And she did this one here. And she says, this is yours. I will never do it again. I will never share it with anybody else. It's yours to have. So I use that as the logo for CE4 research. And that's been going on since 97, 98 at least. That's how long that's been. So,
wow.
And it was perfect because it identifies what's happening here, okay? And it fits the opportunity to get attention as a witnessing tool in the UFO realm, okay? I don't come across as, a Bible thumper, outright in the UFO realm when I show up in the community. This is what they see over here. They think, oh, I can talk to this guy. It's an avenue to get in there and do that. Now, this other one, which I actually have the original artwork right here.
Wow.
Okay? He sent it to me. This fella's name is Bob Marcy. And I'm glad to give him some exposure on the show. Bob Marcy came familiar with my work, and we did many trips over the years to Roswell, New Mexico. My partner, Guy Malone, when we were all together as Alien Resistance years ago, he made his mission to be a representative of this truth in Roswell, New Mexico, way back in 2000. And we formed Alien Resistance, him and I and Dr. Chris Ward, the late Dr. Chris Ward. And Guy has made a presence there ever since. And he's still there. And he's had the opportunity to put on some amazing, amazing Christian conferences dealing with the UFO alien abduction phenomenon in Roswell during the Roswell UFO Festival in July 4th weekend every year. Okay, so we've been God's representatives in Roswell. I've had the opportunity to speak there eight, 9 times now, and working with Guy. Well, Bobby knew about us, and Bobby wanted to make the trip to Roswell one year. And Bobby's an athlete, and he decided him and a buddy of his, to come there. They wanted to be part of the Alien Run, they call it, which being it's a 3-day, 4-day festival. The city puts on all sorts of events, and one of the events they have is like a 5K run. Well, they give away a really cool T-shirt representative for the run, that they wanted to get free. So they showed up at least do the run. They found out that we were in town doing a conference, so they came. And matter of fact, that was right when the first book came out. And I got to meet Bobby in person and everything, and he was ecstatic. And as we started putting the book together, we were still connecting and everything. And Bobby was an artist. That's his main profession. He has a business in Oklahoma, a frame shop. And that's his business that he supports himself and his family with. And in the back of the frame shop is a big area that he does like an art school. He teaches art, painting and stuff. And he's a painter. And I talked to him about the concept of, would he be interested in, maybe coming up with a concept for the cover of the book? And he says, well, give me an idea what you're looking at. Well, I had the concept, You know, this is the whole concept was based on, this is the same, and you said it, this is the same lie from the garden.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just in a new guise is all it is. So that's what I wanted to capture. Okay. Now, I don't know if you put together, I'll give it away. I don't know if you put it together, but this piercing the cosmic veil, the first story in the book that you read, the guy from in France, okay, when he went off to the side of the road, down at the side of the road, he saw that portal. If you remember, that portal is what that creature's coming through, right? Remember? That's piercing the veil. Okay.
Interesting.
Now you understand what the portal is about. Okay, that's what they were doing with you in your book, your closet, whatever that was you were talking about.
Yeah.
They coming from the spiritual realm to the physical realm. That's the whole concept of piercing the cosmic veil. We can't go to their realm, but they can come to our realm. Okay? So that was the whole concept of the book, is showing that they can do this to us. They can come here and deceive us. So I'm trying to put all this together in one picture. So I worked with it with my wife, and I'd give her an apple or an orange, and I'd say, stand here and hold this. And I kept taking pictures of her holding it out, you know, and I'd send it to Bobby, and Bobby goes, okay, I got this, you know. And then I gave him the idea of a portal, and then I'd have her, have her stand like it was there. And finally, the whole concept came together, and he put that together, and it came out just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
you know, and I'll tell you how good he is. He doesn't do this kind of work, by the way. He does real life historical pictures too. He's got a historical picture that represents something that happened in the 1800s that he painted. It's a real life historical picture that is actually in the Capitol building in Oklahoma City. That's how good his stuff is.
Wow.
So, yeah. And I think there's a piece I put his piece in the book in the back there where he talks about from the author, about the author. It's in the back of the book. You might want to go back and look at it now. But that's Bobby's, he talks about that in there. But that's a great piece, and that's how that picture came about. It covers the whole, the whole thing together. And the letters on the apple, that's exactly what the enemy's offering, the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
It's like to entice, the lure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. The book has been such a blessing to me, and it has just really helped me in my healing process from this whole thing. So I'm so glad God put it on your heart to do this work, to have this ministry. It's going to help a lot of people.
Hey,
thank you.
Thank you,
Amanda. You've got a lot of courage. I'm proud of you for doing this, and I know God
Thank
is.
you.
He's the one that counts, not me. So, wow, here we go again.
Well, thank you for all of this, Amanda. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank all of you. Thank you.
You don't realize what it does for us. It lets us know for this we were called, because a lot of times we struggle with that because we've been given a job to do, but someday we come home from work and we go, nah, why are we doing this? And it's when we have somebody like you that finally comes on and brings this out and we go, okay, now I know why, And I know Jason and Lee get that too. When I send them an email with a new testimony, they go, yes, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
All right.
Go,
Ladies
Jason.
and gentlemen, that's it. I'm going to take us out. Again, for all our subscribers out there, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Piercing the Cosmic Veil show. Remember to hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please tell people about what we're doing here via ministry. And there is information on our YouTube channel. If you go to the About section, that has contact information for us, if you guys need to reach out, if you need any help, any prayer like that. So again, God bless you. May he keep you. May his face shine upon you. And listen, don't forget Ephesians 6, guys. Put on the full armor of God every single day before you leave the house. We look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of The Piercing, the Cosmic Veil. Bye now.
See you guys.
All right.